the bounty hunters. Both ships felt it as the chainbreaker left the axiom lanes, and things grew more confusing when everyone was called to one of the main landing decks. Madame Stepanova and her crew were specifically invited. Waiting for them was a small team of furious-looking women in uniform. They had leather-like armor plating around their bodies that had small force field emitters embedded in them. The crew of the chainbreaker is entirely present, and the engine of the ship seems to be in standby as if the vessel has more or less stopped. "Is this everyone?" she demands Pukey, who scans the crowd. "I don't know the crew manifest of the other ship, but everyone from the chainbreaker is here," he answers. His arms are crossed. There's an air of both stoicism but a small amount of satisfaction. He wants this to happen, something most of the chainbreaker seems to have, although there are some that are purposely hiding behind others. In particular, Scaly was behind Jade, who was behind Onyx and Rico, and while too far to the side to be behind anyone, Cindy was right there next to Scaly to make sure he would be all right. "And who is in charge of the other vessel?" the officer demands, and Pukey gestures towards Madame Stepanova. She was the one barking orders and leading from the front. "Well, ma'am, is this everyone in your crew?" the officer demands of her. "Yes," Madame Stepanova states firmly. The central officer turns to the one of the left and she pulls out a device from her waist, examines it. "I detect no life signs on the second ship," she says, and the central officer nods. "Very well. Now, I try to be fair and open-minded, but when I see what looks like an active suicide attempt in a major axiom lane, I start getting agitated. If someone has anything to say that could possibly calm me down, I would love to hear it," she says with an actual aura of sheer rage boiling off of her. Pukey clears his throat, and when they turn to regard him, he slowly reaches for his communicator. He tapes it a few times and holds it out. The nearest officer holds hers near to his, and then they both pull away from each other. The expression on the woman's face goes from intrigued to shocked to outraged to resigned. I despise Centris and all the political madness that pours out of it. "My crew and I stay far away for numerous reasons, ma'am. That's merely one of them." Pukey agrees as the communicator is passed to the other two officers, who each run a gamut of their own facial expressions. Outrage and disgust are universal. "Very well. You will surrender the past hour's worth of sensor data and ship-to-ship communications to us. You will also be bringing the fine of 200,000 credits to us in full." "I understand. Permission to leave so I may fetch the credits?" Pukey asks. "Officer Shield, go with him," the central officer states, and the largest of the three Platinum officers walks up towards Pukey, who nods. "This way, please," he says, leading her out of the docking bay and into the hallway beyond. "Hopefully we don't overly stress you girls with this nonsense. In a few weeks, this should just be a story you pass around to get more drinks at a bar. Turn off the charm. I'm not interested," Officer Shield says, and Pukey nods. "Pardon me," he says, and they walk in silence. A bout of paranoia had made it so that no one type of resource was centralized. That included the hard cash credits. He opens a small storage chamber, and Officer Shield's eyes widen somewhat at the sight of the stacks of money lining the walls. "You've done well for yourself. Why did you risk it all on such a mad scheme?" "We judge the risk as well within acceptable limits," Pukey says as he picks out a pair of Axiom ride discs. "Also, we've done far more dangerous stunts in the pursuit of this wealth." "I doubt that." The multi-maimers were a gang of criminals united by the fact that they each had at least 4 arms apiece. Their favorite tactic was to navigate down a treacherous canyon that was at the center of a magnetic disturbance. Trying to spot them from above was futile. Following them shredded any vehicle that tried. And if you tried to lay in wait on the other side, they would simply park in the trench and wait you out, usually with a hostage screaming over the radio. Pukey continues as he leads Officer Shield out of the small storage room and towards the helm to retrieve the logs from the source. "Horrific," Officer Shield notes. Our pilot chased them through that canyon twice as we set up an ambush at the first entrance point, his chase keeping them too distracted to consider that there may be a trap. He didn't even scuff the paint job on the van we used. Between him and what we observed from the Lance, we were certain we could pull off the maneuver without anyone getting hurt. Were you? From what Bike and Air Farce noted, their pilot was unimaginative but precise. Of course, you'll be getting this in the copy of our communication and sensor logs, so feel free to confirm it yourself. Bike, Air Farce? The nicknames of our communications officer and pilot. We use them as much, if not more, than their actual names. I see. Do you have any idea how many actual laws you've broken? Enough that if I don't pay the fine, I'll have a bounty on my own damn head, so I'm paying the fine up front and without protest. And will be reimbursed by your political leader. This is madness, Officer Shield states. Many consider politics a dirty word for a good reason, Pukey remarks before sighing. If it helps, I thought this was beyond stupid as well. But we were able to do it without anyone getting hurt, and the observational party from Earth gets a wake-up call for the ages that doesn't potentially kick off a war. It's the last thing we need right now. The Undaunted are just barely starting to stand up, and Earth does not have the infrastructure to casually pump out null-resistant warships. It's not exactly in a position to be attacked either. If they can get probe to Earth, they can get a bomb to Earth. I hate politics. I thought we already agreed on that, Pukey asks, as the doors open to the helm. It bears repeating. She remarks as she follows him in, and he starts downloading everything into a data chit she supplies him. Back in the docking bay, a call is going through with a holoprojector on the floor. Hello? Hello, is this newfangled contraption working? Sir Philip says over the line. Oh, hello there. Is there something the matter, officer? His tone is purest openness and friendliness. Everyone involuntarily relaxes ever so slightly. Cut the friendly old man farce, Masterson. It doesn't suit you. Madame Stepanova snaps, and Sir Philip turns around while adjusting his monocle. Do my eyes deceive me? Anastasia, old girl. So good to see you. Still using scalpels where questions suffice? The tone is light and airy. The question is dead serious. Shut up and put that idiot admiral on the line. I need to have words with him. She growls out. Subtle as a hammer, as always, my dear. I'm afraid, however, that the good admiral is unavailable. Poor man, he's been working himself to the utter bone the last few months. He's on doctor-mandated leave at the moment. A few days for himself and his health and the friends he's made. What friends? Well, there are numerous ambassadors that are quite eager to show him the entertainment of their people, in particular, Ambassador Nikti Tal of Brule and the Speaker of the Council, Lady Tikanped. They have vowed that between the two of them he will return to his post relaxed and rested. Sir Philip explains. Where is he now? The Hat asks, mostly out of curiosity. I believe Ambassador Tal has taken him on a leisurely cruise in her custom vehicle, at Mach 2. The dry delivery causes most of the chainbreaker crew to snort as they struggle to keep from laughing. Air Farce gives out a woo of appreciation instead. I must admit, there's a certain beauty to all the buildings running together. I hadn't known so many of them had so many gardens. Garfield notes in his casual clothing of dress pants, boots, and sweater vest. The tiny vehicle he and Nikti were in only had one seat, but she had lowered it to compensate for him being her seat. Every little bump and rattle bounced her ever so slightly on his lap, and she was licking her lips in anticipation for the fun heating up for later. Oh yay, even people that hate nature tend to like organized gardens. They're pretty practical and pretty easy to maintain. Managing them is also a good entry-level job for those getting into politics. If you can handle the responsibility over plants, then maybe you have what it takes to take care of people. Were it only so simple in truth, Garfield notes with a grin. Oh dear, looks like all the seriousness has caused some turbulence. Nikti notes flipping a switch, and suddenly the small vessel starts bouncing ever so, and she bounces with it, right in his lap. Fancy that. Garfield notes with amusement in his tone. His forced leave ends in 72 hours. 3 days? Madame Stepanova demands. 4 hours before your earliest possible arrival? Sir Philip asks. He then visibly glances about, which I can see will be an optimistic time frame to say the least. You mincing, duplicitous, Gav, no, she hisses out with a touch of her accent coming through. You haven't changed at all. Nor have you, but do recall that our duties were rather different. Of course we developed separate skill sets and attitudes. Sir Philip utterly dismisses the insult. Still, I look forward to matching wits with you again as we did in the old days. I'm afraid that with all the sweet-tempered and innocent young women here in Centris that I'm going rather soft. The officers are very clearly not laughing or smirking. They are most definitely not grinning at the absurdity of that statement. We're here. What did we miss? Pukey asks, walking in with Officer Shield right behind him. We're here. What did we miss? Pukey asks, walking in with Officer Shield right behind him. Ah, Captain Schmidt. Good to see you, young man. Sir Philip's greeting is jovial and genuine, also completely at odds with the situation in his special disarming way. Without noticing, everyone but Stepanova relaxes just a little more. Good to see you as well, sir. Before anything else is said, I'd like to thank you again for the tips and advice you offered me when I first took command of this vessel. They've been invaluable, Pukey says, and Sir Philip brushes it off with a light laugh. Oh, no, no, no. I'm your elder young man. It is my duty and pleasure to pass my wisdom to you. What are the old for if not to teach the young? He asks jovially, and there's some rolling eyes and shaking heads at the routine. Still, thank you, sir. As for you officers, here is a copy of the communications and sensor data going back an hour and our fine in full, Pukey says, handing over both the Axiom Ride credit discs and the data chit. Well, that was easy. Unfortunately, I still need the records from the second vessel, and after that you're only going back into that lane with a legal escort. Understand? Of course, ma'am. Shall you be docking your ship with ours or simply following? Pukey asks pleasantly. We will be following, but Officer Shield will remain on the ship to ensure that if you try that stunt again. I understand. Let's get her squared away with some quarters, shall we? Pukey asks. Yes, right after we get the communication and sensor logs from the other ship. The lead officer states to Madame Stepanova, whose eyes narrow. Don't be an idiot, ma'am. If they put a bounty on you, then we'll haul you in for a payday like the other criminals we're handing over once we reach Centris. Pukey warns her. Payday? Is that daft admiral not paying you? He is, but we're being encouraged to supplement our income with the bounties. We get to keep 95%, and we have the entire Dauntless as backup if things go sour. All in all, it's a wonderful deal. They crack open all sorts of legal walls, and we get to make a mint while they get all sorts of information and increasingly skilled agents. Win-win is the name of the game.